Today I wanted to record a video about Vinyasa. A lot of times when you just attend a yoga class, the definition and meaning of Vinyasa really isn't explained unless you take teacher training, like a traditional teacher training where you reference a lot of books and you dig a little deeper. So in The Heart of Yoga, which is a great reference book that I like to use, The Heart of Yoga breaks down Vinyasa as developing a yoga practice according to the ideas expressed in the Yoga Sutra is an action referred to as Vinyasa Krama. And if you break it down, Krama is the step, Nyasa means to place, and the prefix V translates to in a special way. So Vinyasa means to place in a special way. So today I'm going to break down each of the poses and show you some modifications and variations that you can practice through your classes, whether you're practicing at home or in a studio. It's really important to move with the breath, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna try to hold the pose a little bit longer just to give a little bit more emphasis on the engagement and what parts are important through the vinyasas. So the vinyasa consists of 5 different poses if you're starting in downward facing dog. If you're starting in downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, you're in that inverted V and your tailbone is reaching up and back where that wall meets the ceiling. Your heels are reaching down towards the ground, and it's okay if it doesn't touch the ground, but try to give yourself a little bit of movement, maybe pedaling out the knees, lifting your heels and reaching them back down, and see if you can reach a little further down. And with the palm, your palm is flat to the ground and you're pressing yourself away from the earth. Your fingers are spread wide, and it's okay if the entire fingertips or fingers are not pressing to the ground, just make sure your palm is. That's gonna be the most important thing. So imagine you're trying to really press the ground away from you and keep the shoulders moving away from the ears. You're gonna make sure your head is relaxed and be able to shake your head yes and no. So our first pose where we're starting from is downward facing dog. And this is not always where vinyasas are going to start, but that's where I'm gonna show you from. So the next pose is just shifting forward into plank position. And it might require a little bit of adjustment if your shoulders don't meet stacking above your wrists. So when you shift forward and you notice that your shoulders are either too far forward or too far back, maybe you'll have to kind of shimmy your toes or the ball of your feet further back or forward to come into that plank pose. And hold yourself strong, palms are still flat to the ground, and your heels are reaching back so that you're really active in the legs. Hold this for a few moments and just keep your core activated. Now, you're gonna shift your shoulder forward, coming past your wrists, and then you're gonna lower down halfway while keeping the elbows hugged into the sides of your body. Shift your body forward, coming into that upward facing dog. And when you're in that upward facing dog position, your heart is reaching forward and you can look up towards the ceiling. You're on the tops of your feet, and then you're gonna press into the palms of your hands as you press up and back into downward facing dog. You're gonna start in downward facing dog, palms are flat, and tailbone is reaching up and back. Heels are actively reaching down towards the ground, and your shoulders are moving away from the ears, so shoulders are moving towards the hips. Shift forward to plank, find your position there, and then you're gonna shift a little bit further forward as you exhale, lower down halfway. Elbows are gonna stay close to your body. From here, inhale, reach your heart forward, coming into your back bend, upward facing dog, maybe cobra, and then reach back, reach up and back. So you end up in downward facing dog. So a few modifications for this is going to be starting with coming forward into plank, and then while keeping the elbows hugged into your body, you're gonna lower slowly all the way down to the ground. So your belly touches the ground, your chest is touching the ground, as you lift up and peel the heart off the ground into low cobra. So here your elbows are just gonna stay bent, and you're still on the tops of your feet. Your belly and your hips are on the ground. And this is a modification for those of you who have a challenge holding upward facing dog. And you'll work towards that as you do this more often. So then from low cobra, you're going to come onto your knees. So lower the knees down, come into tabletop so your back is flat, and then reach your tailbone up and back. Your heels reach down towards the ground. Move yourself into downward facing dog. Now the next one is when you have a hard time doing a push-up. So once you come down into plank from downward facing dog, you're gonna lower the knees down. And then from here, and you can also hold in plank for a little bit. This will work your arms a little bit more, or your upper body. And then you're going to, from tabletop position, press back into downward facing dog. And that should help you a little bit instead of doing like a full push-up. Eventually, when you can work up to it, you can go from a chaturanga, so that's where your elbows are bent and your palms are down, and you're halfway in a push-up position, to lower the knees down and press your way back into down dog when you don't have the upper body strength to do a push-up yet. So then we also have where you can challenge yourself a little bit and try a push-up. So you're gonna start in the same position. So in downward facing dog, you're gonna shift forward to plank, and you're gonna, again, press into the ball of your feet so your shoulders pass the wrists. And you're gonna lower down halfway, and you're gonna press back all the way up into plank position, like a push-up, and then you're gonna press back into downward facing dog. The last variation that I have is a single leg vinyasa. This is done often, and it's actually kind of fun. You can work this up so that you're kind of adding a little bit more challenge to your practice, and it's not wearing you out too much. So starting from downward facing dog, you're gonna take that right leg and kick it up behind you. And as you shift forward into your upward facing dog or your back bend, you're gonna come onto the tops of both of your feet. So just like the other variation or the standard variation. And then you're going to press up and back into downward facing dog. And then you want to make sure that you do this on the other side as well. So if you do it on the right side, make sure you do it on the left. You're going to start in downward facing dog, left leg reaches up, try to turn the toes so that they point down towards the ground, and shift forward coming into plank position. Just start here. Press into the ball of that right foot as you shift forward so your shoulders are past the wrist. Elbows hug in, lower halfway down. Inhale, shift forward coming into your back bend. Both of the tops of your feet are now on the mat. Heart is reaching forward, and then as you exhale, press your tailbone up and back, and that ends in downward facing dog. So a lot of classes will have a ton of vinyasas, and you can always skip them or modify them. I would highly recommend that if you don't have any injuries and it's just more of a strength situation, to try a variation so that you work your way to doing a full vinyasa. Doing that chaturanga is going to help you build upper body strength, and it feels really good when you're flowing through the practice. It helps you get a little lost, and that's that one part of the yoga practice that you don't have to think about, and you can just go through it. Your body will remember it. Just make sure that you honor your body. And if you're not feeling good, or your shoulders are tired, or your arms are tired, just to modify as you need to, or skip it altogether and just meet the rest of the class in downward facing dog. Remember that you can always skip your vinyasa and just come into child's pose and take a rest through the later part of the practice if you're doing a ton and you're just not feeling it.